Welcome aboard our Battleships podcast. This is a podcast analyzing anime relationships, whether they be canon or one the fans enjoy. Please be aware that our battleships are equipped with state-of-the-art weapons designed to leave no ships behind. If there is a ship that you hold dear to your heart, there's a possibility we don't. We are not aiming our cannons at you personally and mean no harm by sharing our opinions with you. We are simply anime fans talking about ships we either love or hate. This is not an informative podcast, so don't take anything we say as gospel. Keep in mind, our sails are painted in the blood of many spoils of war, displaying everything beginning to end. If you haven't seen the anime, we will reveal many of the exciting details to you, so you have been alerted. Again, this is your spoiler warning. Thank you for listening. I will now hand the wheel over to our captains.
Welcome to Battleships, Shipped or Sunk. We are anime fans discussing anime ships that we love or hate and come to a final decision. Do we ship the pairing or do we sink it with our cannons? Hello, my name is Zephra and I have 93 dragons.
Oh, you finally counted!
I counted! I've been waiting for this bitch to count and we forgot to bring it up sooner.
Did you add one for the ones you got around Christmas time?
Oh yeah, I added them.
Okay. Of course she did.
Now, according to our list that we agreed on, sub list, I have 93. The full total that I counted was 106 to 139, depending how you counted the books.
I have like 3. I think I lost.
For what we're counting, I have 93. Jesus.
Good luck, Juno.
Well, I can already say I lost that battle.
Well, I'm Kaylee. I'm the asexual who somehow, well, my gosh, I cannot talk today. I'm the asexual who somehow came up with this romance podcast, and I blumbled my way through that just fine now. It's fine. I can't speak. I am doing a podcast and I can't speak, so make that make sense too.
It makes no sense. Well, Zephra, my name is Juno, and I counted 56 dragons.
So you did count.
I did count.
Good.
Damn.
I told you.
Well, apparently I need to fucking get more dragons.
If you want a detailed list of where I have my dragons, there you go. I think the most is small toys.
I'm
and
not
then
surprised.
Stuffies.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me either.
Nope.
We will be starting our episode off with our roll for ships. This is a list of romance questions that we carefully come up with. We will be rolling a D100 to determine the questions we answer before we talk about today's couple. Let's roll. 65.
65. What is a ship that you supported at first but disliked by the end of the show?
All right, hear me out. It starts and ends in the first episode. Tokyo Ghoul with Ken Kaneki and Riz.
Isn't that the ghoul that like fucking eats him or tries
And then,
to?
yeah, she eats him, starts eating him. And then there's an quote unquote accident that happened and her body parts are used to heal him.
Yep.
Are put into him and now he's half ghoul. So there you go. At first I thought it was cute or they worked well together. But then she's a ghoul and was actually crazy.
Yeah.
Not the good crazy.
I got to that part and then I stopped watching it because it was too much for me.
I watched all the way to halfway through like the third season, but each season It kind of, when it jumps between seasons, the timeline's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Especially between the second and third, but yeah.
I know nothing about that because I haven't seen that.
Yeah, I feel like Tokyo Ghoul is worse than Attack on Titan, but Attack on Titan and Tokyo Ghoul have a lot of similarities.
And goriness.
Yeah, in the gore aspect. So at least the Titans made it seem unrealistically inhuman that we're eating humans versus ghouls. I hate zombies. I hate anything with that. So
I'm in the same boat as you.
So in answer to all questions, we will never be covering Tokyo Ghoul on this podcast.
Sounds good to me.
Alrighty. Eeny, meeny,
Miny,
Mo.
Okay, Sephora chose me. So, a ship that I supported at first but disliked by the end of the show would be Nezuko and Zenitsu from Demon Slayer. Because, I mean, I really waver on it. I mean, at first it looks really cute, but with time, like, I start to slowly cringe for Nezuko because I feel like she deserved a better partner than Zenitsu, personally.
Zenitsu is so annoying.
Did I tell you guys that my dad started watching Demon Slayer, but as soon as we got to the spider part and Zenitsu was screaming left and right, he's like, okay, I'm done. And I'm like, damn it! Because I wanted him to be into an anime that we could watch together, but Zenitsu killed it.
Yeah.
I mean, in all fairness, I kind of understand Zenitsu in that moment of like when he sees the spider head and he's like, what the fuck am I even looking at? Like, and screaming. I mean, I get it. But I don't know. I feel like there's a certain point, like after you've been facing demons as long as he has, that the screaming would kind of stop.
Or calm down.
Or, I mean, he fucking defeats Upper Moon 6. And all this kind of shit. I don't know. I feel like that would build some confidence, but no.
He's still a scaredy cat. And I get the anxiety, but he's still over the top.
Yeah, and I mean, I know he saves her from, like, Inosuke when they first meet, when Inosuke's trying to, you know, destroy the box and all that kind of stuff. And, like, on the train, he helps her, blah, 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 blah. But I don't know. I feel like after, like, the whole final battle thing and just, like, him moving in with the Kamados and just seeing how he behaves after all that, that even Tanjiro has to step in and tell him he needs to stop acting this way, or Nezuko will see him as a little brother. I'm just like,
yeah, no,
it's tough, especially since it's so weird, like him screaming about his feet hurting so much, and then like seeing Nezuko interacting with Inosuke like as siblings and everything, and then he gets so jealous, he's like splurting blood, and so he falls to the ground screaming about his feet hurting, so then Nezuko will come over and baby him. I don't know, it's just
I haven't gone that far, but that sounds horrible.
Yeah, like Nezuko rubs his feet and everything, and then he of course, you know, is basking in bliss that she's paying attention to him. But it's just like the fact that Tanjiro is just like, oh my, like, if this continues, nothing's gonna. And I'm just like, at the same time, like, Tanjiro, why are you supporting this? Because I'm getting cringe.
Yeah, at that rate. Oh,
he's acting like a child that if he learned that if he screams or cries enough, he will get what he wants.
Yep.
That's
the more he acts up, he gets what he wants.
He just doesn't have a low volume mode. That's the problem.
So it's his attitude and his voice. So yeah, no, I agree with you.
Yeah, so I'm just not really in support of that couple.
Yeah,
I feel like Nezuko deserves so much better.
Okay, so I'm gonna be the lone soldier here once again because neither of you guys, I think, have either watched or read the manga. It's for xxxHolic, and it is Watanuki with Himawari. And this couple, it is very pushed at the very beginning of the manga or the story that Watanuki is absolutely smitten with Himawari. And so I was thinking this was going to be an interesting little tale where, like, he has a crush on her and she just sees them as friends, and then they'll eventually get together by the end. And then as the story progresses, a lot of shit happens. And suddenly, it seems less and less like Himawari would be a good fit for Watanuki. And instead, who was kind of his rival, ends up being the one I ship with Watanuki, which is the guy that he literally hates for the beginning of the series, but they end up becoming kind of linked together by fate. And I like Himawari's character. I not necessarily hate her or anything. I just don't think she matches well with Watanuki. At least that's my opinion. So, yeah, you guys need to read it, though. I love it. It's in the same world and story as Tsubasa. So
I should have known.
Is xxXHolic as long as Tsubasa?
I think it is slightly shorter than Tsubasa. It's funny. I do really like Domiki is his name and Watanuki a lot more than Himawari.
Now, our fellow shippers, it's time to talk about our couple, Tomoe and Nanami from Kamisama Kiss. Alright, so for their looks, we have Tomoe, who's white and pretty.
White and pretty.
Hot, white, and pretty.
I mean, he's the whole reason Zephyr watched this before this podcast.
I wish he had long hair the whole time.
He's the pretty guy with the ears.
Yeah, we can all admit Tomoe is pretty damn hot with the long hair.
His English voice actor, J. Michael Tatum.
Yeah, you like any
smooth.
of the characters with J. Michael Tatum voicing.
Yeah. And then we have Nanami, who I feel like is more of that earthy, brown, neutral colors.
Well, yeah, I mean, she has brown hair and brown eyes.
Honestly.
And then she becomes an earth god, so.
Do you want to know what I first thought of her? And this is going to sound really shallow and rude of me. I thought she was bland. She was so bland at first.
A little bit.
Felt, because at this point, we have seen quite a few different shows that have brown-haired female protagonists. She just reminded me so much of them, and I'm just like, here we go again. I was much more interested in Tomoe because he got cute little fox ears and stuff, like,
And his tail.
And he has very pretty purple eyes.
Mhm.
He does. Their personalities are kind of funny because Tomoe like tries to dish shit and Nanami is like, I slap that back right at your face. You know, it's not all one-sided, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, I love the back and forth. They're both stubborn. And
Short-tempered, definitely, considering
Yep.
how many arguments happen throughout this story. There's just one thing I want to say about Tomoe, is he's a very proud yokai, and he's very loyal to the shrine. And I mean, I admit that Nanami is a very determined girl who wants to do her job well, but she's one of the most reckless protagonists I have ever fucking seen. Because everyone keeps telling her, it's dangerous, stay there. And this girl is fucking jumping over the fucking ship and is like, I'm helping. Like, she's like, she's not going to stay put. It's like, they need to put a fucking leash on her, or like one of those stupid talismans that says boulder on top. So she doesn't move, because every time they're like, stay here, I'm like, you guys have not realized how many times this girl comes running after you. You realize she's going to do it again.
She does a lot of reckless shit throughout the manga and the anime, and she will continue to do so.
Sometimes it works out and she's able to do it on her own, but most of the time, Tomoe or someone's having to come in and rescue her because of her recklessness.
But at least she's resourceful enough to fight back until someone can come to her aid. And she's very lucky that she has that skill in her arsenal, because this girl would not have survived without it.
Yeah. Well, and there's one thing that I think we haven't talked much about, but I think is such a healthy trait in a couple. Well, I take that back. Maybe it's not necessarily the most healthy thing. But Tomoe is the sound of logic. He thinks through things a little bit more, whereas Nanami is driven by her emotions. And she has obviously the more empathetic side, but she also has the more careless side, whereas Tomoe is more so thinking through this shit before doing anything and less of in certain situations.
And he does yell at her to think.
Yeah.
For once.
And
yes, very much so.
I think that balance works really well for a lot of different couples. And I definitely think it works well with this couple too.
But one thing I also like about their clothes is Tomoe kind of wears like whites and like purples and blues. And Nanami, from what I've seen, mostly wears her orange school uniform. That's a colors that pop off each other.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of like the difference in color. And like you were saying, Nanami definitely has the earthy tones going for her. And Tomoe, definitely more the ice.
It's like
the winter.
Brown little rabbit jumping around the snowstorm of Tomoe.
That fits very well.
Very accurate there. But then they both are really explosive. Because then it makes me think of, like you say, bunny.
That bunny can breathe fire. That bunny can breathe fire.
Either that or she just keeps detonating all the landmines that are hiding in the snow.
Something like that. And it's like, this is fine. All is well. And then there's Tomoe going, no, it's not. This girl gives him so much stress.
Yes.
She each hop sets a fire, and she's just ahead of her sees lovely fields, and Tomoe's the snowstorm behind her trying to put out those fires.
Accurate. Very accurate.
Okay, so how they meet.
Yes.
Well, let's see. Nanami, after her father goes in debt, runs away. She's kicked out of her house, homeless, and ends up running into Mikage, who's like, hey, I know he would not be happy to see me, but tell them I sent you and they should give you a home at the shrine at this place.
Yep.
And she goes over right when it opens the door to get to the greeting of Juno. Want to do the honors?
I am going to kick your fucking ass, Mikage. He is ready.
Says, how dare you come back? Oh, wait.
Yeah, just ass kicking Mikage would I've gotten if it had been him walking through that door. And then I love that moment of realization of like, she is not Mikage, and she's like, I don't know who the fuck this is. Ready to kick my ass. The stare, and then he's like, wait, this isn't Mikage. But then the shrine spirits appear, but she has the mark of the land god. So they're all like stupefied at first for a second, and then they're like, yay, the land god has returned. Confetti, confetti, and Tomoe's like, I am not fucking serving this bitch.
If he really did not return and gave the roll off to some little girl, I'm out. I'm going to go live free. There's no reason for me to stay here anymore.
Yeah, Tomoe was not thrilled, especially since it was a human girl, too.
Oh, yeah.
I think it would have been different if it was a different Kami that had come in to take over the shrine.
He still would
wouldn't have been happy, but he felt almost like Mikage punched him in the gut, being like, hey, here's this girl, go serve her. She's a little human, by the way.
Especially since Tomoe doesn't really like humans.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So he probably was really insulted by that, being like, her, my master, I am out.
And he decides to go to the red light district for yokai.
Yep, he's just like, I'm going to go drink, and I'm going to go enjoy some ladies. Bye.
And, of course, she's like, let's go after him with the help of the temple spirits.
Well, at first she's not really driven to do so, but when she finds out that Tomoe has been maintaining the shrine for 20 years by himself, she feels bad after insulting it and wants to apologize. And then, of course, misunderstanding after misunderstanding, screaming. And she's just like, nope, you don't deserve a fucking apology. I'm out.
Yelling. And, of course, Tomoe's pissed of, why did you bring her here?
Yep.
Then they goes to enjoy the show of her getting chased by a hag.
Yes.
Well, in the manga, it's a little different. The hag actually takes her home. And one of the shrine spirits shows up and is like, this is one of the man-eating monsters. You gotta get out of here. And then, yeah, that's when the big tree chase occurs. Poor Nanami. Just like all this bullshit being thrown at her ever since Mikage gave her the land god. Well, more like her dad.
I have to laugh at the scene of she's finally at the top where she can. Her ankle's getting grabbed and being threatened to pull down. And they're like, say, Nanami, just beg him to help you. Which in a way, to beg him, what were the words they wanted her to quote? But
something that was like insulting to her, like, please say help this poor stupid human or something like that. And the fact that he does just like show up to watch the show at first and is just like, hey, I'm just here. You know, but maybe I'll help you if you apologize to me.
But that sly look behind the fan, like, sure, I might help you.
I mean, he is a fox.
Like, fuck, he would have helped her if she did beg.
He was sneaky, and Nanami kind of turned it on him by, wasn't she like pulling him down with her and then
well, she reached out for him and then yanked him with her as she fell. Yeah. So of course then he's yelling at her like, you're stupid.
Now you're gonna
die. You better beg for your life now. And so then she's like, she has no choice but to seal the familiar contract, which she really didn't want to do because it involved a kiss.
Yep.
So she reaches out for him and kisses him, and then he's probably thinking, fuck.
No, then as he fell down, swore, or he swore as they were falling down, and then last minute catches her.
Yeah. Well, then she pulls away and is like, Tomoe, save me right now! And then, yeah, he's forced to. And then I love his face, like, as he, like, turns to Nanami and, like, is looking at her after he catches her. And she's just, like, thinking, oh, God, like, what have I done? And he puts her down and he's like, you hag! And proceeds, to beat the hag. Like, it's your fault! I'm a familiar again!
This is your fault!
And it's like, Tomoe, it's kind of your fault because you were within grabbing distance.
And you could have helped her. If you would have helped her, then she would never have forced you to become a familiar.
Yeah, she wouldn't have kissed you if you had just willingly helped. But no.
That's actually a really good point I didn't think of. Bro, real fucked up, and then a lot of stuff happens after that.
And the next morning, she wakes up. Everything looks much better. And you see Tomoe being well behaved. But the spirits are like, oh no, he was very pissed.
You could just see the cloud of gloom over him as she realizes he's right there next to her bed. Like, oh, he's been waiting for you. Like, after taking care of you. Like, more like taking care of your bedroom overnight.
Yep.
And then she's like, I'm so happy to see that you're not seething or something. And he's like, what do you mean? I have rage. And then flames. And she's just like, oh, shit. He's like, but I will make you a girl worthy of being my master. So then, he starts trying to teach her. And I'm like, Tomoe, you're not a very good teacher.
No.
So this was something I wanted to mention earlier, but I'm glad we kind of are getting to it now. Nanami is a people person. She really is. And Tomoe is like, people, you gross. I don't want to. And I definitely think that shines a lot here because Nanami is all much more outgoing about it than Tomoe, who's just like, no, you sit down and you do this right now. bare minimum, please. More along those lines. Whereas Nanami's like, I gotta go to school. I gotta do this. I gotta do that. And Tomoe's just shaking his head the whole time.
Like, fine, if you must, then you gotta wear this. It gives her a very ugly hat. True, it covers her mark and protects her, but
He wanted to tease her.
There could have been so many other ways that this could have been handled, but yeah, he probably was, part of it, teasing her and kind of like getting back at her for making him, be her familiar. And he's just like, now I have to teach this girl how to be a god because she doesn't know anything. And Nanami, I mean, bless her heart, she tries. But I love that by like day 2, Nanami refuses to wear the ugly ass hat and she goes to school. And then Tomoe is like bitching about the fact that he has to accompany her to school, like keep an eye on her to make sure nothing comes after her. And then, of course, the Tengu sets his eyes on her pretty quick.
Yeah.
And then he's just like, oh, this will be fun when he finds the girl. He's like, oh, you want to be a land god? I will feed you to Nanami. And turns him into an ostrich. One of my favorite fucking scenes from this story.
And the fact that Nanami's immediately like, no, stop.
What's funny to me is she's reading a romance story in her classroom, like, oh, I wish I could have a high school life like this. And they're like, wait, there's an ostrich being chased by a fireball. And she's like, what the fuck? Runs to the window, and yep, there's Kurama, the ostrich running from a fireball. And the fact she knows immediately it's Tomoe, like, how dare he at school go on a rampage?
was it then or later that she yells a command in his right in his ear and he goes like stiff as a board?
Yeah, I think
of God's
so.
word.
Yeah, and I love the fact that, like, she's taking care of Kurama after this horror thing, and he's like, why am I getting yelled at when I protected you? She's like, but you weren't injured. And he's just like, well, of course not. You know?
I'm too good. Like, why would I be injured from this lowly thing?
But I love that he is taking his responsibilities of being a protective familiar seriously, even though he really doesn't want to. But
He's so grumpy about it, but he does his job. He is committed to it, even if he's like pissy about it.
And the fact that apparently that gods don't eat, and then he actually is studying food to cook for Nanami.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you find that out and you're just like, oh. Like, and he's trying so hard. He's like, here's this 3-layer lunch I made for you. She's like, I'll just take 1 layer. And he like face plants in the doorway of the shrine. Like, poor Tomoe. He's trying so hard
on it.
But yeah, the command of like when Himiko of the swamp visits, and her guard and him get into a fight, and he turns him into a fish and is like, I will cook you for Nanami. I'm just like, he has a weird obsession with feeding his opponents to Nanami. And she's like, let's go right now. And yep, fish goes flying. Like,
And now make nice as he shakes the fin.
But really, how many gods are so quick to attack Nanami after they find out that a human god is at Mikage's shrine? Because, like, I forget her name, but it's like the elemental god who then finds out.
Of like thunder or lightning?
Or something like that. And so, like, there's like lightning strikes and Tomoe's like, oh crap, she's probably gonna visit, you know, because she wants to meet the human god. And then he's like waiting for her, but then realizes the storm clouds are moving toward Nanami's school. And he's like, oh shit. So this poor fox is probably running as fucking hard as he can to get to the school in time.
So there's a trend happening in the early story. Is something happens, Tomoe runs after Nanami, who is like stubbornly away from him, even though he's like, hey, you shouldn't leave. And then eventually it starts getting to the point where he starts going with her.
I don't know. I feel like by this point, like, Nanami, after being attacked a couple times, would learn that her status as a land god are that, you know, yokai and other creatures want, and they are going to come after her. But she's so fucking stubborn about, like, being like, no, I'm fine. Everything will be fine. I'm just like, oh my gosh, girl, keep your protector with you. Like, you don't have all these great capabilities to keep yourself safe. Mm-hmm. Like, all you're doing is asking to be put on a dinner plate.
Yeah. Well, the elemental god was more interested in Tomoe now that he should have been free and wanted him for himself. But the lowly human happened to make him his familiar. So she's like, fine then, you will still be mine, and I'll take the status of the land god. Force is small, so you have no choice but to come to me.
Yeah, like the one-sided crush, and then figuring out, it's a little human that she can take care of easily versus Bakage. And it's like, okay, I am going to get what I want. And the fact that Tomoe is able to, he does go, but then he hides. I'm like, what a sneaky little fox. Like,
sad thing is, he'd rather let himself suffer and die than turn his allegiance away from Nanami and to this elemental god.
Mm-hmm.
Which it's like, Tomoe.
He has loyalty. He really does. And his loyalty for Nanami grows at such a good rate in the story.
Yeah, and I really love how quick he is to become loyal to her. And then, like you said, like it gets more so throughout the story as their relationship deepens, even with all the arguing.
Although we definitely will get to the point where we talk about the fact that he tries to keep Nanami at arm's length when Nanami is starting to fall for him.
Yeah.
Oh, so with that, it feels like he still has a aversion to humans and love, and especially love between humans and yokai.
Oh, yeah. He very much does not agree with these pairings because, like, when Himemiko of the swamp shows up at the shrine, she wants Nanami's help to pair her with a human, and Tomoe is very against it.
For him, it's abysmal. Like, why? That can't be true love. It can't be, because the yokai ends up suffering more in the end.
Well, and it's kind of like a spoken taboo, too. And we learn a lot more later on that even 500 years ago, people were looking down on the yokai that were looking at humans that way.
Or vice versa. Like,
or vice
humans would... There were a bunch of humans that were against yokai. Not surprised, they're like demons. But the love between them is very...
wrong, is what he thinks.
Yep.
But, I mean, he does, use his transformation magic on Himemiko so she can look human, so she can approach her human love interest. And she thanks them later by, inviting them down for tea. And I do think it's really cute how, like, Tomoe thinks she's really cute when she shows up all dressed up, because Himemiko is like, let me put you in something cute, because one thing that drives me a little crazy is Nanami goes to multiple meetings with gods in her freaking school uniform.
Like,
it's like, dude, there has to be something else you can wear. You're a human god, and you would think maybe by now you would learn, you should dress up, considering how the other gods have shown up before you, how they're dressed. Yeah. And then she's like, oh no, my school uniform will just be just fine. And they go to the swamp, and then she finds out, oh, I feel really underdressed. So that's when Himemiko, agrees to, help, like, dress her up and everything. But I'm just like, Tomoe, like, you should also kind of push it, like,
no,
the school uniform is not appropriate for the setting.
I feel like behind the scenes, Tomoe did try, but she was too stubborn and refused.
Probably. But there's also the fact is he does show her kimonos. It's just like, wear the kimono, girl. Like, it's another freaking Kagome Higurashi thing about wearing the school uniform to the feudal era, wearing the school uniform to the god meeting. Like
why do you want to wear the school uniform? Those don't look comfortable at all.
So I was holding my tongue because there are so many fucking similarities between Nanami and Kagome. I was trying my fucking hardest not to say anything, but oh my gosh, I was reading the manga, and I was kind of getting flashbacks to Inuyasha. I was like, oh no. No. Especially when it comes to Yukiji later, which we'll get to. But oh my gosh. Yeah, like, I don't know what it is about Japanese school uniforms being like I feel like they treat them like garbage in anime, and I'm not sure if it's maybe because they're cheap or something in Japan. I don't know. I would love to look it up and research. And the fact that it doesn't really seem as important to Tomoe to change that for her too also just surprises me.
Especially with him saying like he wanted her to be a master he could be proud of.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just felt like he would have wanted her to dress more accordingly for these occasions rather than the school uniform. But that's also Nanami probably being really stubborn and wanting to wear what she wants to wear. But even though she was like, oh, those are pretty kimonos or something, like when he was showing her stuff at one point, I don't know. But I do think it was really cute how he did say she was the most beautiful Kami of all when she showed up in one of the outfits that Himumiko's attendants had put her in.
Yep.
But he was also doing it to escape the fish princesses that were harassing him, in the swamp. Like, no, go away. Like, I'm going to go with my master now.
Well, and honestly, it's a little bit surprising given the fact that what was the first thing he did when he realized Nanami was the new Kami? He went and looked for women to have fun with. And now there's these women that are like, ooh,
Oh, I don't think he was going for the women. I think he was going for just like the company kind of more, because that's kind of the impression I got.
Yeah.
Like he was really close with those girls, but there didn't seem anything sexual going on because they seemed to have like more of like a friendly relationship. And he just more seemed like he wanted to drink because he very much was like, ooh, with the cup on his hand all the time.
Yeah.
But then Nanami ends up engaged to a snake.
And all she did was save a snake, and he marked her.
Mm-hmm.
That obviously these yokai don't have any conception of consent.
No.
And then the moment that Tomoe notices, he's like, I am not going to allow my master to wed a lowly snake. Like, no way.
I left you alone just for a minute, and you go and get yourself marked by a lowly yokai.
And he's just like, nope, I'm not going to allow this to happen because this will affect my reputation as a familiar. Like hell. No. But then, of course, he doesn't accompany her to school the next day or something. And then she ends up getting kidnapped by the snake. But yeah, I kind of forgot he had attended school with her that day.
He did, but...
Well, it's probably because he was napping.
Yeah, he was asleep, and she's like, oh, I don't want to wake him, even forgetting the whole reason why he was with her.
Yep, and then Tomoe goes on a wild goose chase to find her.
Yep.
And when he does, can we appreciate that Mizaki at first was like, oh shit, when he sees the outline of Tomoe and the thing, and the doors come blasting in, and you're just like, oh, this is gonna go down bad. Yep.
Well, you did steal his mistress.
But the fact that he lunges at her like right away and brings her to his chest for a tight embrace, because he's so relieved that she's okay.
Mm-hmm.
After this wild hunt of trying to figure out where the fuck the snake took her.
Yeah.
And then he was ready to dish out any punishment. Because, like, the moment he found out that Mizaki is just like, no, not the tree, not the plum tree, that he immediately was like, oh, I'm gonna burn it.
Yeah.
Like, how dare you? And Nani's like, no! Again. And he's just like, oh shit, hands in the air. Like,
She's fine. She still got some spunk in her. I'm okay.
Yeah, at least she has the spunk. At least then, she definitely is okay.
Everything the snake did to you, you're still defending him? What's up with you defending these yokai? All these other yokais.
Yeah, at first I was kind of like, why are you defending this guy? Because, he kidnapped you, is trying to force you to marry him, and he's, like, getting super weirdly close with you, and you're yelling at him to give you space, and you don't want to marry him, and then suddenly, I don't know, like, when Tomoe shows up to save you, can we also appreciate Tomoe's strength, that he moves Nanami to his shoulder, and he's holding her there? I don't know. I was just like, wow, okay, you're trying to free your hands up here.
Honestly, I think it is more of she has too kind of a soul, and she noticed that Mizuki was mourning and was very downtrodden because his Kami was gone. So
and very, very lonely. He only had the shrine spirits, but it doesn't look like they were close at all.
Well, and
instead of leaving and being free, he stayed there.
I don't know. Even when his Kami told him to go, she wanted him to be happy and to live, but then he still stayed at her shrine for who knows how long.
Just like Tomoe. Just like Tomoe had, except for Mikage didn't pass away. He just disappeared.
Mikage said, I'm heading into town, like pretty much promising that he'll be back as he leaves, and then just never showed up again.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, then they go to the beach.
Yep, the beach.
The beach!
The beach, which is supposed to be a fun, eventful, chillaxing adventure, turns into a big, fat fucking mess.
Well, let's see. Her friend goes in too deep, starts drowning, and she's unable to get her friend, so she's begging the other two,
Her two Shinji, I think is what they're called.
Familiars.
The snake isn't her familiar yet, but
at this point, I think he is.
No, he's not.
Oh no, he just is hanging out at this time.
He's hanging out, spending a lot of time with them, but she's begging them for help, and Tomoe, even though he doesn't fully remember why, he still knows he can't go into the ocean. But he goes.
I think he does know that he stole the eye. He just probably doesn't remember where it went or why he stole it.
Oh,
Yeah,
true.
because he
That
does
make more
mention that,
sense.
he was avoiding the Dragon King. But then, he goes in the water and the Dragon King is able to sense his presence.
And comes for him.
Yep.
Yep, and is ready to fucking brawl with him right away. Like, how dare you, what you did over 500 years ago?
I'm here to collect a debt.
Throughout this time, it's like, yeah, the clam grabbed Tomoe, but Tomoe did not use any of his fire. He barely resisted and let the clam take him.
Were they surrounded by people or were they knocked out? Like
No.
They were all knocked
He was-
out, but it's also the fact that familiars apparently are not allowed to go like all out in front of their master.
Or
Unless-
it's seen as a very improper to kill in front of your master.
I guess that would make sense.
So that's why he waited until later, because later down in the ocean, he comes out of the clam and starts causing fire, havoc, and trying to kill the king.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And then Nanami pops up to go save him, and he climbs back in the shell.
Well, before that, jumping ahead, she jumps into the water after him, clinging on. The king, he takes her out, is like, look, I don't have any business with you. Go back to your life. Go. And she's begging him to let him go, or I'll do anything you want. Just tell me what I need to do to free Tomoe. So it's
And
like,
he, wants his eye back. But then we can also jump forward just a little bit of what happened. Like when Mizuki starts coming around, he's like talking to her about Tomoe. And he's like, you don't know the real Tomoe. And she's like, no, I do, I live with him. And he's like, no. So he brings out that time incense burner and sends her 500 years into the past so she can meet Tomoe.
and find out what happened to the eye.
But that's
Well, that's the second
that's
time, I
when
think.
she finds out what happened to the eye, because that's when she sees Tomoe with Yukaji
Yeah.
giving her the eye.
No, there was a time when she was sick before this that she went back in time, and that's
Well, the
when
first time she went back in time, I butchered it. That's when she meets Tomoe in like the hut,
Yeah.
where then he's like, oh, you're the only survivor or something, and gets really close, and she bites him or something, and he's just like, whoa. But then Akura-O shows up, and so he shoves her into the hut and closes the door,
He's like,
and which is then she's able to make her escape.
I want her for myself, and
Well, that's not when he gets that appeal. That's when they just first
No.
meet, like her being defiant him, and he's of course like, ooh, like this human is showing some backbone with me.
But I think
Yep.
it's not out of love that he wants her for himself. It's more of,
Well, at first.
I found a new toy.
yeah, it
Yeah.
was
At first, it's more of, I found a new toy, and that's why he hid her from.
Akura-O.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
he
and
was like, I don't want, Akura-O killing her because we all know how he is.
Yeah.
Well, and this is the first human who has really fought back that was probably more frail. Because, I mean, there's obviously been men of villages and stuff that have tried going after him with spears. But this is the first time that someone who you thought was defeated decided to fight back in a very unsuccessful way. I feel like biting his hand is not the most effective way to fight back, but
No, but it definitely got his attention.
it did get his attention.
And the fact then he does protect her, like he shoves her back into the shrine. And she's able to make her escape. But then that's where I fucked it up, because that's her first meeting with the past Tomoe. Then the second one is, then the dragon eye. Then she's like, okay, I'll go 500 years into the past and get the dragon eye from Tomoe. I'm like, oh, that's going to go well. But then that's when she sees Tomoe with Yukaji and is like, oh, he's giving this girl the eye because she is injured in some way and she needs this. So then, Tomoe's like, eat this, drink this, whatever it was, and leaves. Which is then Nanami runs in and gives Yukaji the eye.
Yeah, he went to go get some to help her
wash it down,
take it down. Like she was struggling too much to take it immediately, so he went to find some to help, and then she fed her anyways after he left.
Yeah, even though she needed the eye to save the Tomoe of the future. And then Mizuki's like, oh my gosh, Mizuki! Why am I butchering his name?
That's a good question. Why are you?
I don't know. Snake Boy! Is like, but you needed that to save Tomoe. She's like, oh, well, this girl that Tomoe cared about in the past needed it more, as far as she's concerned. So she's like, well, I'll figure it out. And that's when, she is told that about, then runs into the girl who offers her the dragon eye, that it's inside her. So that's when she visits the sea witch or whoever is like, okay, I'll take it out of you. But,
for 20 years of your life.
But then, goes back on the contract and takes more from
or tries to.
Nanami. But then Mizuki's like, no, he's too fond of Nanami. So then, he kisses her to seal a familiar contract and saves her and gets the things he took from.
Boundary. Then true, she didn't ask for Tomoe's permission, but that situation was a
life and death situation where otherwise she would have become a splatter on the ground.
And I guess this is also life and death again, but he didn't need to kiss her to save her.
True, he didn't have to. Then they go to the Dragon King's palace. I love when they give him the eye. He's like, that's not my eye. He's like horrified to be
what is this? It's useless now. It's like nothing.
Yeah, and then Tomoe climbing back into the shell. And then Nanami starts bringing up Yukaji, and he's like, who's Yukaji? Like, he's truly confused over that. But then I love how, Tomoe then begins attending school with her after this. So he can be her protector, so none of this shit happens, but it still happens.
That's the hope and prayer, and it doesn't happen that way.
But that's when, like, that girl, asks Nanami if, like, she is dating Tomoe, because they're spending so much time there, and she's like, no, she's playing off, she's staying with his family, because they took her in after her dad took off to who the hell knows. And she's like, oh, can you lend me Tomoe? And there's that reaction, from Nanami of like, no, I don't want to, like, he's mine, like, I like him. But she's just like, okay, because she knows that Tomoe doesn't return her feelings.
Yeah.
But the fact that, she's still at school being like, I hope they're having fun walking together or whatever. And then Tomoe shows up and goes, the fuck?
What do you think you're doing?
Totally passed that girl up and tells her straight up, you are my number one priority. And of course, that just makes her feelings go aflutter.
He was careless with his words and made her fall even more in love with him.
Yep. Because, I kind of can't blame Nanami. Because, he's been her protector. He's been looking out for her, doing all these things for her. You'd grow fond of someone of that.
Man, even though it's him being loyal and doing his duty as a familiar, it's still like, come on, can you blame a teenage girl?
But then it's also at this point, like, Nanami's classmates who are, like, slowly becoming her friends suggest to help things move along that maybe she does something different with Tomoe. So then she thinks, maybe I'll go with him to the aquarium for a date rather than just going home to the shrine. And of course, he's not too thrilled about this. He's just like, we should go home and, attend to your duties as a land god. And she's just like, no, let's go have fun.
Forcing it a little too much.
But, she's like a young girl, who's smitten, who wants to go on a fun date with the guy she likes. She's probably not even really thinking about that, honestly, because she's too giddy about maybe changing up their dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
And then even, like, they go to some, like, scenic view after, she drags him around the aquarium, and he's just kind of like, he's there. He's not really, like, enjoying it. But they get to that view, and he remembers kind of what Kurama told him about how teen girls can be.
Oh, yeah, they were up on a bunch of high on the buildings.
And he's like, you're acting weird. Like, you better not be falling in love with me. And of course, there's that reaction of being like, oh, like he noticed.
Well, and then she asks, what happens if I was? And then Tomoe freaks out.
He does. And then he like tells her it's just all up in her head. Like it's just her imagination playing with her. And then he like hauls her up and she like is of course screeching about falling from this great height. But he's like, nope, cool your head with this cool air. And then he will let her down if she admits it was just all in her head that she has feelings for him.
Mm-hmm.
What did she say again that caused him to drop her out of shock and he dropped her?
She says something along the lines of like that he told her that she is important to him. And he's like, well, yeah, that's true. And then she asks him, like, you haven't thought that I'm cute? Not even once? But he has. He thought she was beautiful back in Himamiko's swamp. I cannot say her name either.
In
But
that
yeah,
moment of carelessness or that stun, he dropped her.
I think his grip just kind of slackened and with the wind and everything, yeah, he drops her.
It was on accident and it was just a very small moment of carelessness.
And she saw it flat out as a rejection. Like, no, I never saw you as beautiful. And so she's like heartbroken as she's falling. And then Tomoe goes to catch her and she's like, don't touch me.
Because then she's kind of really like she was the only one having fun. And she feels like a complete idiot for not saying that like Tomoe wasn't interested in her in that way when she was totally into him.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so she yells, don't touch me. And he's forced to let go because of the familiar contract.
Yep.
She says it in such a strong command. Then he's yelling at her, please let me just touch you just once. Let me catch you. Let me save you. I promise after this, I'll never touch you again.
Mm-hmm.
Because he doesn't want her to die. Because, I mean, considering the height they're at.
Yeah.
Because she even shouts like, you don't even love me. Don't touch me. It makes you feel kind of bad for her. Because that's a tough rejection, He tells you no, and then he drops you from a great height.
Well, and I guess this is where the ace side of me comes out a little bit. I don't understand how somebody could feel that down in the dumps after a rejection. I have never experienced it myself to know. So is this pretty true and true for what you guys have felt?
That age group, it makes sense. Because,
Mhm.
it hurts really bad to be rejected. And the fact, probably also thinking, like, he's going to be around you even after this, he's her familiar.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's like no escaping it. But she does finally allow him to catch her.
But this is what bugs me is afterward, she's like, you know what? I can't help it. I still love him, even if he will never feel the same for me. And then comes the next episode where she keeps craving his touch and she sees him as whenever he's about to, but doesn't, she sees it as him continuing to reject her when he's just following his promise. So she forgets. I feel like she forgot that he promised he'll never touch her again because she complains about it later.
Well, think about it this way. If you're falling off a fucking building, believing you're going to die after you just got your heart broken, I wouldn't be surprised if she trauma blocked like the entire night.
Yeah, it feels like she did. But yeah, he doesn't, for the next episode or two, there's this whole thing of where she's wanting him to touch him, and even for the simplest tasks, and feels like it's more of a even bigger rejection or continual when he's just following through with his promise and never touching.
But, she's still in love with him. And of course, she still craves his touch and his attention. And so it probably devastates her, like getting rejected and then feeling continuously rejected by that afterward.
When he wasn't meaning to continually reject her. Man, true, he still didn't have the feelings for her. But him not touching her wasn't another misunderstanding, I would say.
It's almost like romance anime is misunderstanding 2.0.
And then there's their dates. Or was there something else first?
Well, the date happened before that.
No, the other dates were the amusement park. Yeah.
So I think that happens a bit later because there's the whole going to the Kami meeting thing. I think that happens.
Yeah, the god banquet.
That happens
The god
after.
banquet.
No, this is when the god banquet happens then.
Oh, I thought the god banquet happened after their date.
It might be different in the anime versus the manga.
Yeah, because I think
In
it
the
happens
manga-
later in the manga.
Yeah, in the manga, the amusement park happens after the Kami meeting.
But the fact that, Nanami was just like, I don't want to go, I don't care. But then she kind of realizes it might be a way for her to find out where Mikage has gone.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of, it's like for Tomoe to attend the god banquet.
Yep.
Because she knows he wonders what happened to Mikage, who he served as his familiar for 500 years.
Yeah.
Well, she was originally going to take Tomoe with her to the god banquet, but after some happened and she had a taste of how he would have been received, made her change her mind on bringing him along.
It was because he was a wild fox and people were making fun of him or scared of him because of his past. Mm-hmm. So she decided just to keep things more peaceful, hopefully, at the banquet. She decided, to swap which familiar she brought with her. Even though Tomoe won the game, but being like, it's going to be me. I will accompany you. And she's like, no, Mizuki will be accompanying me. And she's like, oh!
Yeah, she wanted to protect him, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, she did.
At least that's how portrayed in the anime.
And then poor Tomoe, depression.
There is something before the banquet and before all of this, like debating who's going to the banquet with her, that I want to bring up. And that is this trial with the Shikigami that she does against the other, like the human Kami.
The other human Kami, yeah.
Yeah. And there is the entire miasma corruption at the school, right?
Yeah.
And Nanami gets her ass kind of kicked royally. I love kind of what proceeds because at that point is when Otahiko, the Hishigami, is talking to her about like, what do you want to be a kami of? And she's like, I want to be able to protect people. And she also is thinking about Tomoe and the fact that she doesn't want to always have to rely on him. She wants to be able to protect on her own and be able to protect him too.
So first there was the whole miasma incident at the shrine, and she performed that dance to purify.
That didn't happen in the manga. That didn't happen in the manga. It's only anime.
In the anime, it happened, and then there's the other incident at the school. But at that point, she had the little egg that hatched into a premature monkey.
Mm-hmm. But when Tomoe had saved Nanami, he had taken in an injury from the spider yokai or whatever that was possessing and causing the miasma in the school. And so he was suffering heavily, and he hadn't felt that since the mark of death, which we'll get into later, had been slowly eating him away. Mm-hmm. And so he is feeling miserable, and he's remembering the fact that he only felt better after seeing Mikage, and he was kind of sad about it. And that is around the same time that Nanami decides she wants to be a protector and starts running around the school with her Shikigami before running into Tomoe and, embracing him, purifying the miasma. And I think it's so cute because it's the first time I think we really see something come from Tomoe that wasn't more of a... It was more emotion driven than I think most of his other interactions with her had been up to this point. I think this is really where the seed of love started blossoming for Tomoe in specific.
I can see that, yeah. Mm-hmm. But then also the other human Kami having the audacity to try to steal Tomoe from Nanami, like showing up randomly and like kissing him and be like, you will now be my familiar and help me clear the miasma. And he's like, And Nanami is like, fire, like, how dare you?
Yep. Well, and she gets so jealous too. Oh my gosh.
Okay, this is not in the anime.
Yeah, they cut the other human Kami.
Yeah.
Another human Kami?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's not in the anime.
Because
Oh my god.
the wind god set up like a competition between the two of who could grow the better. The
Shikigami.
could attend the banquet, but they cut that.
Oh wow. That's
Yeah.
a big.
And that's where all of this has kind of come into influence because they were kind of fighting over who could purify the school.
Shenanigans everywhere.
But Nanami saves the day. There's a bunch of other antics that ensue regarding the Shikigami, but in the end, she does go to the banquet.
Yep, and then she does actually have a discussion with Mikage at the end of it. That's actually really enlightening.
The end of the banquet?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say, hold on, the end of the test or the end of the banquet?
The end of the
And
banquet.
so I was getting the timeline confused myself.
Yeah,
So.
a lot happens, and yeah, we already butchered it a couple times. We are so sorry. We're trying.
Yeah, don't expect the timeline to be true to anything because we're just retelling our favorite moments, honestly.
It also feels like, from the sounds of it, between the anime and the manga, they changed the timeline as well.
Yeah. But can we start talking
Continue
about the
on.
banquet? Because there's a lot of shit that happens. Because she goes to the land of the dead, right?
Yep.
And Tomoe gets a letter saying like, oh, she's in the land of the dead. And he's like, excuse me? I sent her with that snake and this is where she is now, and freaks out and proceeds to go try to hunt her down. Beats up the
It was the god of war,
right?
Yeah.
And he beat up the war god so that he could open it back up for Nanami. And obviously, in doing so, he broke out of the contract for being a familiar and ended up turning back into a full yokai.
Yeah, he had to, though, because he was limited by his contract as a familiar. So the shrine spirit had to break it so he could stand on equal footing with the god of war. So he could open the door to the land of the dead so he could go retrieve Nanami.
Yep.
Now, Nanami would have been fine, but she decided to help
I can't.
Akuro.
Yeah, so it was Akura-O, but I can't remember what his human name was.
We're just calling him Akura-O because that's who he is.
Akuro, she went in there in the first place to help save him because she saw him as a human.
Yeah.
She didn't know that who he really was. But when in the land of the dead, the mistress there, she recognized for who he really is and that it's a dead body and put him in this place where he should belong or should be. But she went after him, saved him, and in doing so, causing so she would have been trapped there if Tomoe had not opened the entrance.
Yeah, she had to jump back through and they, seal it back up or whatever it may be. But then Tomoe gets locked up because he had turned back into a dangerous yokai and they have to make sure he doesn't go on a rampage and kill everyone. And Nanami is trying everything in her power to try to get him out.
Do you blame the gods? I mean, 500 years ago, before he was under the control or before he was Mikage's familiar, him and Akuro was causing havoc in the human realm.
No, it makes complete sense. I think it's so interesting how much he was thinking about not being her familiar, though.
Well, it sounded like he was unsure because he started feeling for her and didn't know if that was... And when he figured out that it wasn't because of the contract, it stumped him.
Oh, that's true. I forgot about that. Because he wanted some time to think through it and figure out his own feelings.
Yeah.
He was in denial.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the fact he broke the contract in the first place, jumped down into the world of the dead to get her back. And I love her reaction of like, why is he looking like this?
And she gets flustered a little bit too.
Yeah.
And her long hair, he looks hotter.
But then that hug when he finds her and just how tight he's holding her and just like, will you tell me why you're down here? Like he's fed up in some ways, but
Yep.
But I love the fact after then he gets through his feelings and thinks about things that he does reseal the contract with
Yes.
Nanami.
And it makes Nanami's whole world too.
She's so relieved that he came back to her. And then all the other gods were like, well, I guess he's tamed again. It should be fine. It's like, you didn't think about just doing this in the first place. Just go get Nanami, God's sake.
Yep.
And then Nanami meets Mikage at the end of the big festival with the gods and is able to have a really important conversation with him about emotions, like him telling her like humans can fall in love again and again because their emotions change with time. Unfortunately, for yokai, that is not the case. And she then brings up Yukaji, and he like has that little half smile because he already knows what's going on. He's just like, oh no, I'm just trying to rekindle Tomoe's bond with humanity. And he's just like, cute, cute, cute. You know? He knows exactly what this guy is doing. He's just like, oh, don't worry. I am here for you, girl. But the fact that then Tomoe sees him in the distance too and desperately is running and calls out his name, and he's just like, but he has a long way to go and disappears. I'm just like, you didn't even let him look at you like in the eye. Like he just wanted to see you.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, he's getting there, but he's still dependent on me, so it's not time for me to return yet.
Well, it was more like he needs to choose you. Like, this is why I left in the first place, why you're currently the land god. I am just here to be the supportive role. And bye.
Salute, I'm gone.
But that also, like, brings some things in perspective for Nanami. You know, kind of like Yukaji and everything, and why maybe, you know, Tomoe doesn't remember, because he straight up tells her, you know, he erased his memories of Yukaji. So she's just like, oh, well, that would make sense of why Tomoe's like, who the fuck is Yukaji whenever you bring her up? Like, I am so confused. Especially like when she asked him to go to the Ferris wheel with her and stuff, and he's just like, me. And then she goes in his room and he's still asleep, and she's like, we're gonna be late. And she starts ripping apart his room. He's like, I'm gonna keep going until I find your porn.
And she finds the hairpin.
Yeah. And she's like, why does Tomoe have this? And she's super confused by it, and he like snatches it from her, and he's just like, this is mine, don't touch it. But the fact he doesn't even know what it is, really, at the time.
Mm-hmm. My running theory with this is when somebody has memory loss, sometimes like blank parts of their brain will fill in the blanks. His mind filled in, oh, I went and bought this for Nanami, which is the excuse that he gave Nanami when he actually gave it to her.
Well, yeah, it makes sense. Like him
part
trying to explain why that's in his belonging, because he doesn't remember Yukaji and their promise and everything. So it's like, why would he have a girl's hairpin in his belongings otherwise?
I also feel like it's a mix of sometimes when you forget something, certain items that had strong meaning in the past, even though you forgot what that meaning is, it's still the subconscious is like, hold on to this. Like that feeling of this is important is still there, even if you don't remember why.
That's also very true.
So I think it's a mix of that. And since he didn't remember why, that's what he figured it probably was.
Yeah.
And I gotta laugh. I love it when he first sees the roller coaster. Surprise, shock is like, what is that?
He's stoked.
And then they go onto the roller coaster. She's freaking out. She hates it. And she looks over and you see him laughing. He's having fun. He's laughing. And it's like the first time you actually see him like that. And it's like, I want more.
Like, I will endure this torture to see that expression over and over again. And then, of course, you know, Tomoe ends up touching a bunch of girls like at the amusement park, and she's like seething, like, stop touching him! Stop touching them!
Gets all jealous, and he doesn't understand because, again, the concept of love is like over his head. Again, this is in the anime before he figured out that the feelings, because the whole figuring out his feelings happened during and or after the heaven thing. But in the anime, he does not understand or care, see it that way.
Oh, you know what? The amusement park happened right before the banquet.
Told you!
After she found out she was going to the banquet, but she wasn't actually there. Because in my list, I have it as they had the test. She ran around with Mamoru. And then there was the amusement park. And then she went to the land of the dead. That's my notes. So
This is hard, y'all.
But it doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter timeline because they're kind of independent of each other.
Well, it's at that point, she's feeling jealous because he kept touching others. And since he didn't have his feelings figured out for her yet, he didn't see what the problem was or why she was so upset. The whole love thing was still like, he didn't see it.
Yeah.
Or care for it.
Yep. And Tomoe gives Nanami the hairpin.
And then he just tells her like he bought it for her at a festival and it was always for her.
Yeah.
So then, of course, she's very happy, you know, like, oh, yeah, it is. Like, it's not for some weird other girl. Like, Yukichi. But yeah, then a bunch of stuff happens, like the Tengu Mountain and all that kind of stuff. And then one of my favorite scenes is where Nanami is watching TV with Mizuki. And there's like a wedding going on the TV. And she's like, oh, I wish Tomoe would propose to me or something. Says something along those lines. And Mizuki's like, hey. And so he goes and storms into the room Tomoe's in. And is like, you dare propose to our master or something? And punches him. And Tomoe's like, oh. And they start fighting. And then Nani has to come running in like, stop it! Then like Mizuki is just like, you're not getting hitched. Like he's super like worried about it at this point. And she's like, no, I will never get married ever. And Tomoe's just like, huh? Like the devastation. Like I think that's when like emotions are there, but it hasn't occurred to him yet.
Well, and it's such a different way of pace than what she previously had too, because before then she was making it pretty darn obvious she had a thing for Tomoe, even though he didn't reciprocate it, and I put that in quotations. So for her to suddenly be like, no, I'm not getting married, he's like, huh?
Probably really confusing. And then the incident with the Zodiac Gate thing happens, like the 12 years.
Yeah.
And then, then it becomes more clear to her two familiars why. Because then they see her past, like how her dad was, her mom's circumstances, like her mom saying, don't get married. We marry bad men, stuff like that. And then they're like, oh. Yeah. Because then after they finally get out of there, it comes up again. And she's like, I will never get married. Probably. And then, then Tomoe's like, oh. Then you see the little blush on his little cheeks.
No, in the anime, when they were going through the gate, later he kept pushing or showing up and in her memories to talk to the young little girl. And she kept getting scared of the snake or calling him stranger danger or stranger.
Oh, pervert is what he called him
in the manga I read, called him a pedophile.
Pervert, pet, like a stranger running away, and Tomoe would show up and be like, I will protect you from this pervert.
Oh, he loves that. He can rub it in Snake Boy's face like, hey, she likes me more than you. And then runs away with her. And he's like, no.
And so this happens after some time. He keeps wanting to see more, delving deeper. And before coming out, he ends up talking to her and he promised her, she got her to promise to marry him.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that until we started mentioning this. And I was like, didn't he propose? Hold on. He proposed. They've had multiple proposals at this
They pretty
rate.
much had a proposal to... That's what the thing that bugged me about it, is that she's the form and mindset of a child that he proposed to.
I have to agree. It was very creepy.
So other than if it was she's more in her teenager or not so young, it wouldn't have been as bad. Just for me, it's like... I get what you're doing and you're just having fun and want to see her cute, but like you do realize she's 8 years old, 4 years old.
I mean, it was weird, but I think he did it to like reassure her because she had like mentioned like there's nobody at home. There's no one there. Like, I'll be alone. And he was like trying to like reassure her like there would be someone for her at home. That he would be there to welcome her home.
And
like, and trying to make her smile. Like, there was maybe a future where there would be someone
noisy
there.
And chaotic every day.
Yeah, she gets a lot of that now.
And the next part for me in the anime would be the OVAs. So is between that and this, what happens?
Yeah, so I think the only thing that really happens, they go to a yokai market, Tomoe and Nanami. And at that yokai market, Nanami ends up getting her fortune told. And she asks the fortune teller, what does Tomoe think of me? You know, because at this point, she had kind of conflicted feelings. Like, does he actually like me or not? Does he think that I'm a good kami or a good god? And the fortune teller gave her a flower, like a bud. And she had looked at it and felt invigorated by it because she's like, you know, he sees me as someone who can still blossom. Like, I haven't completely lost hope.
That's cute.
It is cute. Then, yeah, there's a bunch of shenanigans there, too.
Yeah, I was going to say there was a lot.
But the fact also that, you know, Nanami followed him without shoes. And then he's just like, it will make me look bad if my master isn't wearing shoes. So then he's forced to give her his shoes.
And then after she, like, trips and falls, he goes and gets her new shoes and had her sit down with an umbrella that she gave away for that fortune and then gets chased by some yokai. And he's like, not again.
This girl. It's no wonder Tomoe has anxiety. All right, let's talk about it. It's when Himemiko visits the shrine. That's when his memory kind of starts returning because he's starting to fall in love with Nanami, and that's the trigger. Mm-hmm. And as he's like watching her interact with the others, then he remembers the fallen god telling him on the next full moon, she will turn him into a human. But the condition is he has to spend his life together with that girl. And then Nanami approaches. And I just think that's even more of a trigger. Just her mere presence then opens up even more of those memories that Mikage had suppressed. And that's when he remembers Yukaji. Mm-hmm. And he collapses. And that's when his power, too, starts collapsing. So then the shrine begins falling apart. So Nanami goes running to Tomoe, and she sees him covered in markings. And when she gets close to him, reaching for his face, he says, Yukaji. And then Nanami's just like, what? You know, because all this time he's denied knowing who Yukaji is.
Well, and she does know that Mikage suppressed his memories. And so she's like in shock for a minute, but sure, she's like, oh shit, he's remembering.
Yeah, because then she tries to run for the peach elixir that she has. But then, you know, Tomoe's like shoving her away, telling her to leave him alone. He'll be fine. And he's like coughing up blood. Because he was already close to death when Mikage found him. And then that moment of like, oh, and that butterfly flies past Nanami and Mikage appears. And he's like, do you remember, Tomoe? He's like, it's okay. I am here. No one will see you. And he seals him in the mirror. And it's just like, thank God Mikage was watching.
Yep.
And he was right there when they needed him.
Because, yeah, he would have died very quickly.
Yeah, because he is literally, because, yeah, when he found him, he was on the brink of death. He was right there, and he was literally looking for a place to die. Mm-hmm. But Mikage took him to his shrine and made him his familiar and suppressed his memories to prolong his life.
Mm-hmm. And then by putting him in the mirror, it stopped time for him. So they gave them not much, but it still gave them time to figure out what this curse is and how to fix it.
Yep.
Because that's when Mikage and Nanami have a conversation where he tells him that he froze Tomoe's heart in the mirror, like stopping time, but he still only has 7 days before the curse kills him.
Mm-hmm. And that's when Nanami's like, okay, time to find this cure. Let's figure out how to do it. And everybody is just telling her there's no way.
And she's stubborn, so she's like, that incense burner, need it now, send me back, and I will find out what happened.
Yeah, she does get discouraged for a bit of time, though.
Yeah.
And I think that is kind of important because it's one of the first times where she has a prolonged period of discouragement. Because she'll get discouraged for not being a good enough kami or something before Tomoe reassures her, or she finally figures out how to use Maomaru or something like that. And at least in the manga, it was, what was his name? Yatori, the demon that worshipped Akira-o, that like kidnapped Nanami so that she could be like the pillar to open up a gate back to the underworld. And she, at this point, had already been devastated. She thought Tomoe was going to die. So she's like, I don't really care. And that's when Ashura-o is like, wow, you're really pathetic compared to how you were in the underworld. Like, stop being so down low on yourself. And that's what finally gives her the courage to
I think it
find the
wakes her
cure.
up from that feeling of hopelessness of like Mikage just telling her Tomoe will die in 7 days and there's nothing we can do.
Mhm.
Like, these markings were engraved into his skin for this contract, and the contract wasn't fulfilled. So he is going to die. It is going to kill him.
Mhm.
And then she runs away from the shrine because she can't stand it, thinking that Tomoe is going to die in that shrine. Yeah, he's in the mirror, but
Well, it's the thing that he cared so much about. And every little bit of that shrine, I wouldn't be surprised if it reminded her of Tomoe.
Well, yeah, everything, how the shrine is a mix of her power, her being a land guard, and her presence, and all the work Tomoe does to keep it bright and beautiful.
Yep.
Because earlier in the season, he did tell her, or it was revealed to her, that how beautiful the shrine was is because of her presence. He makes it even better, but just the fact on it looking livable is because of her.
Yeah.
and she probably felt guilty too because Mikage told her that the trigger to awaken those memories was for him to fall in love with someone, and he fell in love with Nanami.
Mhm.
And so she probably feels so guilty knowing that how much she wanted him to fall in love with her too, only for this to be the result.
Mm-hmm.
And then Mikage even tells her that he is happy that Tomoe was able to fall in love with a human again. And of course, she doesn't quite understand what he means by that. Because, you know, just him telling her, you know, he fell in love with you again. And now things will be fixed. And she doesn't. She's just like, what? You're happy he's going to die?
Well, and we'll get into it later, but Mikage had some of this planned.
He already knew, because of what she went to the past, he knew to a certain point about what was going to happen.
Yep.
But after meeting Akira-o and he drives it into her like she's being pathetic, get up. Like, what kind of waste of a woman are you now? Like,
yeah.
But then she goes back to the shrine. And at first Mikage's like, no, you're not going to do that. You can't go back to the past. Even though he's like, yeah, you did anyway. But then she gets Mizuki and they go to his former god shrine. And yeah, then she jumps into the past because she is determined to find the fallen god that Tomoe made the contract with to make sure it didn't happen almost. And this is where Nanami meets Yukichi.
Yep. And here is where I shalt bring up Inuyasha once again. Because
they have a lot of similarities.
During this whole situation, I was like, damn it. I swear to hell, this better not be another Kikyo and Kagome situation. Because I already had a sneaking suspicion that she was a descendant or was a reincarnation or something of that sort.
Man,
because
the dragon eye gave it away.
So it was one of those where I was like, oh no, here we go. And I was so happily surprised with how they play off the story. Because yeah, it isn't necessarily Yukiji that Tomoe fell in love with. It was Nanami who was in the past.
He
This
just
whole
thought it was
time.
Yukiji.
Yeah, because they kind of swap places here and there. But for the most part, it's Nanami that has those tender and sweet moments with Tomoe while he's, you know, learning that humans aren't all bad.
Man, in the past, he gets injured, transforms into a child to disguise himself until he can recover. Nanami takes him back to the village after meeting Yukiji, and Yukiji just runs off. She doesn't care.
Well, she has betrothal meetings to go to
as well.
So she's like, I'm busy, girl. You take care of your own kiddo or your own kin from your own village, because that was the lie that was running at the time.
Like, here, I'll let you do here. No issues. Take care of yourself. Hope he heals. I'm off.
Mm-hmm.
But such Nanami was worried about messing with the timeline. She would never show her face, but check on him every night. And of course, that piqued his interest in her even more.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was also the fact that Nanami kind of knew the situation, that Yukaji found an injured Tomoe by the riverside. And then when she hears that the angry mob is looking for Tomoe, she tells Yukaji, you need to go look, And she's like, a yokai? I hate yokai.
Like, why would I go out there and look? If anything, I'll go out there and hunt that yokai.
Well, and she's like, let's celebrate, because it sounds like they're going to kill him. Let's celebrate. And that's when Nanami is like, oh my gosh, no, and goes after him.
Yeah, that's the big thing, is like, she's like, wait, you saved him. I am so confused. But then seeing that Yukaji is not moving, she goes herself and finds Tomoe. But then the fact that when he sees her and just how she looks from his perspective, just so beautiful. And he's just like, this is the first woman I have ever wanted to make mine.
Mm-hmm.
And she takes him back and she's like, oh, I can't, again, interfere with the timeline. And so they're nursing him back to health. And she visits him every night and caresses his head. And that, of course, like you said, piques his interest.
Mm-hmm.
Then she's just like, but, oh no, I need to make sure Tomoe and Yukaji, have their time together. I'm like, Yukaji's not around. And the fact that the little servant boy, I forget his name, tells Tomoe that the person who saved him was Yukaji. Well, that's where it all started, the misunderstanding.
Nanami told the boy to tell Tomoe that it was Yukaji. So it was under instruction. He was just doing what Nanami told him to do. But yeah, she created the misunderstanding in the first place.
That she did. And then when Yukaji is going to go on a bridal carriage, but then they find out that Akuro is going to attack. And so Nanami's like, no, I will not let this happen. Let me take her place and have her go out the back door. And of course, Yukaji is very opposed to this at first, but, her dad insists, keeping her safe so she can go home safely to her soon-to-be husband.
Yeah.
So Nanami takes her place, and they are attacked. I never got the demon's name, but the fact that he was going to kill her, like he literally was going to take her head back to Akuro, and he was going to just decorate it pretty. I was like, oh, what kind of fucked up shit is this?
Yeah.
But Tomoe shows up and cuts him down and takes Nanami away.
Yep.
But also in this whole skirmish, she's poisoned, which, weakens her limbs.
Yep.
So she isn't really able to fight back. So then Tomoe takes Nanami to a whole different hut. What's with the huts being conveniently placed? And he throws her down, and at first he says he's going to kill her because he doesn't really seem to make sense of his feelings at first. And is probably frustrated by them, so he thinks, eliminating her will make those feelings go away.
Mm-hmm.
And she's not able to fight back against him because of the poison, but that was one scene that really bothered me, of him pinning her down, and I was getting that impression of SA, and I was like, no, please, no, like, don't do this, like, I don't want to watch this.
Yeah.
And she's begging him, like, don't look at her, she's not looking good. To my great relief, he stops.
Yeah. I was real freaked out at that too, and I had to skim over a lot of that just because of how triggering it was there for a minute.
But he stops, and he instead hugs her and tells her not to cry. So there was at least that. It didn't go any farther than that.
Mm-hmm.
But then, like, they get in another argument, of course, because he is going to whisk her away and take her to wherever he's going to take her. He's like, you're going to be mine now. And she's like, stupid fox, yelling into his ear. Another argument, and she tells him she hates him. And so he leaves sulking, this great, powerful demon. But then he's like hanging out nearby, like, maybe if I leave her in there for a little while, no food or anything, maybe she'll calm down, blah, blah, blah. But then bandits show up and he's just like, should I do something about this? But he does go to her rescue.
Mm-hmm.
And she stops him, like, please don't kill them. And he's like, then I want you to tell me you don't hate me. That really bothered him. She's like, I don't hate you. And he drops the sword and the little blush. And he's like, okay, I'm better now. Then he wants to make her happy. So then he takes her to see some cherry blossoms. And she's like, this is like a dream, enjoying the view. And that's when he, asks her to be his. Like, he will build her a palace there to stay with him. He's like, ever since that night, we met, I have loved you.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, Nanami's like, this is not supposed to be said to me. It should be said to Yukiji. I'm like, Nanami, no. But I love the fact that he's like, I want you to stay with me. It's like, there's the sweet Tomoe we know.
Mm-hmm. And then sweet old Nanami had to ruin it a little with a promise that maybe later, champ. That's kind of how it came across. I'm sorry.
But then, she's been time traveling too long. So she collapses in front of him and she plays it off as that she's sick and needs to go home. And she's begging him to take her. And he's like, no, I want you to stay with me. But after seeing how she's worsening, he finally then will take her back to her father's, quotation marks, mansion. They have a conversation before he leaves, and he tells her that he wants her to promise him that she will be his, that she will marry him,
And that's when Nanami disappears. And that's also when Yukiji was there to see and witness that all happen, and then ends up kind of taking advantage of it.
She does. But the fact that Tomoe also says to, show their promise to give him the hairpin.
Mm-hmm.
And so she does. And she promises him when the time comes that she will be his wife.
Yeah.
And he does leave. And he's like, I will come back for you.
Yeah.
But then she disappears in front of Yukiji. And Yukiji was like, what? like, who? But then Nanami manages to pull herself out of it because she's able to find the fallen god and have a conversation with the fallen god. But can I just really be happy that the fallen god was actually friendly?
Yeah.
Because they say, ooh, they bring darkness that kills with them. The first time she tried to meet the god.
A whole swamp, yeah.
And so, there's that worry, at first, this god will not be cooperative or kind and help Nanami.
And
but
she had encountered if I remember correctly, she has encountered other fallen gods, and they were terrible, aggressive, evil things.
So there's that, that concern. But thank God, it was a huge relief for me. It was like, oh, you're sweet. And they just tell her everything that she needs to know.
Mm-hmm.
That an item had to be presented to form the contract.
Yeah.
And that they have not met Tomoe yet. So they can't give her the item, that Tomoe gave her for the contract. But says, notice where I am, and I will help send you back because you are not supposed to be here. You are time traveling and you are not doing good. But the fact that that God helps Nanami move forward in time perfectly to meet Mikage 20 years before.
Mm-hmm.
So Nanami can explain the situation to Mikage because, of course, random girl runs up and hugs you and says, I know how we could save Tomoe. Huh?
Who are you?
But then he's like,
that sounds great, but what?
Yeah, he's like, then explain everything to me. She does, and then goes forward more in time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's perfect. Thank you, fallen god, for being a good little bean.
And then she manages to save him by giving the hairpin back to him. And at that point, he had kind of been in a state of cognizance where he was talking to Mikage about the past. And Mikage shed light yeah, that was Nanami you fell in love with, not Yukiji. And he was like, oh. And that is when Nanami breaks through and heals him.
the curse is finally broken after 500 years. When you think about that, like, even though if he didn't know it, for 500 years he was cursed because he wanted to marry Nanami. But then all this shit then went down of Nanami time jumping to save him. And when she does return to her time, how quick she is to scramble to find where the fallen god was.
Yeah.
To retrieve the hairpin that's all broken and shit.
Yep.
But, and then shoving Mikage aside when she gets back, it's like, he's mine, I got this. And then their kiss, I don't know, I just thought that was really cute. When she's
Their
like,
kiss was pretty cute.
like, and she also has to confirm with him too, like, who am I? Like, don't say fucking Yukichi.
One thing I loved was after all this, in the anime, I don't know if it's in the manga, the one main god that hosted the god assembly, he comes down and is like, hey, I will fulfill this promise, turn him human, like, do what this curse was originally supposed to do. Turn him human, and you guys will, as long as you guys be happy, get married and be together forever. And I love how she's like, wait, not yet. Let's wait a year. Let me finish school and be more mentally prepared, and then we'll do the wedding.
This does happen, yes. Because he has an interaction with the fallen god who originally made the contract and decides to fulfill it for her.
Yeah.
But it's actually Mikage who steps forward and says, wait, hold the phone. They have not discussed what their future is going to be. Like, Nanami has not discussed how she's going to live with a human Tomoe. Tomoe has not told me how he's going to live as a human. They have not figured anything out, so I think we should wait on you turning him human.
I love how Mikage's the dad. Like, you guys aren't getting married yet. Not to my daughter, not to my son.
And then in the anime, they did a quick skim of the year and did all that. Then at the wedding, you had all the people she known and met through the year come and wish her luck at the wedding, and they get married.
Yeah.
Yes, this does happen also in the manga.
And I believe there's some else in the anime. There's some else at the end, but I don't remember.
But what I love too
I need
about
the
after Tomoe finds all this out from like Mikage and Nanami, that it was actually Nanami he fell in love with all those years ago and was returned the hairpin, he disappears for a little bit after that. Nanami's like, where'd he go? Like, I'm getting a little nervous. But then they are invited to go to some event. And so she's like, where is he? He's not here. But then he shows back up, and it turns out he actually went to go get the hairpin repaired so she can wear it. And then she does ask him, like, is our love like eternal? Like, are we actually going to be together now? And he's like, of course. like he's baffled.
Well, and it's crazy because he had so adamantly been against yokai and human being in a relationship. And suddenly after this, it's a big thing, Nanami jumping back and forth and all that fun stuff. Suddenly he's like, yeah, let's do it. And she's like, huh?
Well, he did also get his memories back of the feelings he had for a human.
Yep.
That, and technically, the curse is still there. Just Nanami returned the hairpin and she is there. So their promise of marriage is valid. So the curse has gone away. But I feel like if Nanami did, like, be like, no, never mind, I feel like the curse would come back.
Oh, yeah. Probably.
But the fact she's, like, desperate to make sure that they're on the same page, like, now, like, their promise is still going to be valid. They will still get married. Are they in mutual love? And he's like, of course. Like, now I know what's going on. But then they share another kiss. Like, he reassures her that they're going to be together.
Mm-hmm.
But then I love that there's, like, stuff in the manga that happens after all this. Like, this didn't happen at the end of where Tomoe then finds out, the Yukaji he knew was Nanami. Like, there's actually content after he finds this out of them being a couple.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they go on the school trip, and shenanigans happens as a pair typical of these two. Then Nanami gets worn out, and so he then tells her to stay at the hotel and get some sleep after all this shit, and goes to the aquarium on the school trip for her sake. And then he brings her a little souvenir. Like, here you go. Like, you feeling better now? I don't know. It's just cute to see that there's stuff still happening. But then he starts bringing up again about him becoming human. And of course, everyone's like, huh? And even Nanami isn't really sure how to respond.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I will become human for you. And she's just like, eh.
Well, the last time that turned out so well.
Well, I don't blame her, for the silent reaction of being like, yeah, like you said, it didn't go well the first time.
No.
Kurama gives him some elixir that can potentially turn him human. And so, of course, he debates it, but Nanami's like, no, I would rather you wait to become human, because she also doesn't like the idea of like taking away the fact, like all his powers, and he will lose his long life and only spend like 60 years with her or something in the human lifespan. Like it makes her worried for him. And she takes the elixir away from him. It's like, no. And I kind of forget how the context goes, but eventually, she accompanies Mikage to a god's funeral. And they tell her it's the god became poisoned because he fell in love with a human. And that makes her go, makes her worry even more so. And she finds Tomoe cooking in the shrine kitchen afterward and hugs him from behind and tells him like she wants them to live together. But then, take his time, but gives him back the elixir. And then this fucking fox drinks it right away. She told him to wait as he turns into a fox.
What? It doesn't turn him.
No, it doesn't turn him human. It turns him into the opposite. So he turns into a fox.
Oh my gosh.
I will never forget the shriek of, Mikage-san! As we're panicking with him as a fox. So they're trying to turn him back to normal. But then they find out that Nanami is dying. And she only has 6 months left.
What?
Because she gave her life force to Akuro at one point earlier in the story.
Oh.
Yeah, and then Tomoe finds out from Yatori, Akuro-o's subordinate, and he's pissed.
Reasonably so.
And this is all happening in the land of the dead. Oh my gosh, I feel like I'm gonna butcher this part.
This is all fucking happening as they're traipsing around dead people.
Yeah, because they went down there because they're trying to save the big head god or something from Yatori, who stole his soul. Because apparently he's the one who created the mountain of fire. And so he's able to walk on it without problem. And of course, they're trying to retrieve Akuro-o's body. So, of course, they need his soul to make it there. Because every other option has been ripped from them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a lot of shit happens here. And that's when he shows up and says he will turn Tomoe human in place of the fallen god. Then Mikage's like, nope, wait. Give them time. Let them think about what they're going to do. Because it's also that they will have to leave Mikage's shrine. Because they will have to live just as humans. They cannot be tied to the two worlds.
Mm-hmm.
And so, of course, then Nanami has to battle with that. Like, leaving behind, the shrine spirits, Mizaki, Mikage,
Well,
Mizuki.
and
Mizuki. Oh my gosh. Snake Boy, I give up.
Well, and not just that, but Nanami has nothing. The shrine was all that she had for so long. And Tomoe was the same way. Now they finally have each other, but as we sadly know, here in 2025, it is very difficult to afford housing and stuff like that, being an adult. So, she had nothing. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's part of her hesitation too.
Yeah, so at this point, then Nanami starts really considering the future. She actually picks up some part-time jobs to save money and tells Tomoe he should too. And she's trying to figure this all out. This happens before.
What about her 6 months left of living?
Oh, I forgot. Akuro gives it back.
Oh, damn.
Sorry, after he sacrifices himself to save his human mother, he has a conversation with Tomoe, and then he gives the life force he took from Nanami to Tomoe to give back to her.
Okay.
Sorry.
Well, we've been jumping all over the place here.
Yeah.
Well, this is at the end, and we're trying to
Hurry it up too.
Yeah.
So then, of course, then Nanami gets sick again, so Tomoe has to take her place again. And I don't know. I just think this is fucking funny. Just random scene where Tomoe's waiting for her in the rain after her job, and she goes running up to him going, Tomoe! Slips in the mud and falls face first. And he starts laughing at her. And then she's like, oh, ho, ho, you want to laugh at me? And so she tackles him into the mud. But I don't know. I just love seeing these little moments between them.
Yeah.
And he's putting effort into learning about humans by reading human books.
Aw.
and everything, because they got to figure it out. Because if they have to leave the shrine, they're on their own, you know? And they both have to be able to live in the human world without the aid of like all these yokai friends that they have and the gods and everything. They have to leave this all behind. So they have to prepare themselves. And then what's his name? The catfish yokai's
Kota?
Yeah, Kota. So he shows up and asks them to go to the swamp because he hasn't seen her in over a month. So they travel down to the swamp to see what's going on. They find out that she's been quarantined in her own palace because she's pregnant with his child.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no.
And she had a promise to have like no more like relationships with humans if she wanted to give birth to this child. And they haven't been married yet, but she apparently had a ton of wedding dresses on hand that she had made for their future wedding. So she dresses Nanami up in all of them.
Aw.
And of course, Tomoe's like, oh my gosh, like seeing her paraded in all these wedding dresses. And then Himamiko goes, do you have something to say to her? And he's like, yes. And he's like, and then he again asks her to marry him.
Aw.
So they finally get married. They spend their last night, celebrating with their yokai friends and the human friends who now know about all the demons running around in their world.
Mm-hmm.
But what's different from the OVA is then a flying boat thing shows up to take them to the one god who promised to turn Tomoe human. So then they have to say their goodbyes to everyone. Then they board the ship and they take off for them to begin their life as humans. Yeah, it's a little different than what the OVA depicted.
Guys,
sorry.
Guys, we don't even have to ship this couple. The gods did it on their own. They shoved them on a boat and they sent them away. This is the end of the episode. Good night, everyone.
What's funny about that, though, is like, it's them being more like they're shipping them off to the human realm, being like, bye, you're not our problem anymore. Like, get out of here. We'll turn you human and bye.
You're together, you're human, bye.
But then it also shows them like 10 years later after they're married, Nanami has become a kindergarten teacher.
Aw.
Tomoe works in some company. I didn't really get all the gist of it. And he's one of their top employees. And of course, everyone's scared the shit out of him. Because he's still intimidating, even as a human. But it's also that they're both leaving their jobs to go back to their hometown, aka where Mikage's shrine is, because they were living in the city.
Hmm.
And then it also comes out that Nanami is pregnant.
Oh.
And how her family had girls for generations. It comes out that she's having a boy. And of course, Tomoe is kind of like, like at first. He's like, well, as long as he's like you, it's okay. He probably was really hoping for a daughter like Nanami. But I was like, she's gonna argue with you a lot, y'all. Like, considering Nanami's temper, like especially when you met her as a kid, all those years ago, a pedophile kicks the snake boy in the face. Yeah, that's what you're gonna get. But then I love that the last scene essentially is Nanami and Tomoe showing up at the shrine with their baby boy in Nanami's arms. And Snake Boy and the shrine spirits and even Mikage go walking to greet them after 10 years being separated. I'm just like, what a good ending.
That does seem like a perfect ending for it.
I love it.
I did my best, y'all, because I apparently was the only one who finished.
Yeah.
I am sorry for everything I know we skipped over. There's a lot that happens.
Oh my goodness. It's too much.
I will try really hard in our next Captain's Log to bring up the stuff we forgot in this episode. I will try.
All right, captains, time for your tropes.
Tropes. I forgot we do tropes. I was like, I'm ready to say ship and call it a night. Oh.
All right.
Well, we all know what Kaylee's vote is now.
I have shipper with an agenda. A character who tries to hook two people up for reasons other than them looking cute together. Now that, I will have to say Mikage. Part of it is... Why I say that is, yes, he's told how to save and all that. So it's not full on correct, but part of the reason why he helps get them together is to save Tomoe.
You know what? That's actually a very fair point. My first thought was Nanami shipping both Himemiko and Kota.
Yeah, I can see that
To
too.
prove that yokai and humans can be together.
That's true.
I guess,
so
yeah.
this applies to multiple.
Multiple individuals. That's a really good trope I've never heard of before.
Because she really wanted to be with Tomoe, so if she could drive it home with another couple, maybe then she had greater chances, but she had no idea she had the greatest chance of all because it already had happened in the past. She had no idea.
No idea.
Kaylee.
Okay. Even evil can be loved. Villains are humanized by being loved, especially from a heroic character.
Well, considering the fact he spent way too much time with Akuro, who was a really bad example.
That is so true.
And the nature of the demon fox is quite
Volatile.
yeah.
And then he meets Nanami and essentially is tamed.
Good fox. Good fox. Pat on the head.
Because, I mean, Nanami calls out to him, "You're a fox who understands people's pain, right?" Stuff like that. Yep.
Yep.
All right. So, new old flame. Characters who have a romantic history with each other.
Yeah.
That actually fits really well with this.
Yep. 500 years ago. And then in the current day.
All right, smitten teenage girl. A teenage girl who crushes hard on a guy.
Not as if that isn't Nanami at all.
She was smitten from like in the beginning episodes. She fell
Yep.
so hard. And I mean, the fact she jumped through time for him multiple times, despite the burden on her body to do so,
Mhm.
to save him, like, and even trying to accept that he was in love with someone else, not her.
Yeah.
Just, yeah.
Yeah, she was smitten. Couldn't relate, but she was smitten.
And I mean, and
Yeah.
how many times in the manga, even after they get together, like, she's like, "Tomoe is my greatest happiness. I love Tomoe so much." Like, stuff like that all the time.
Mm-hmm. Mine is inconvenient attraction. A character falls in love when they'd rather not. This is Tomoe in the present day. And honestly, even a little bit in the past, too.
Yeah, he was in denial.
He seriously was.
Because he was like, "Nope, I am not falling in love with this human girl. Nope, 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 nope."
Nope. Not happening. Human and yokai,
Because I mean, in the past, he was like, "I will kill this human girl because she's making me feel feelings. I'm not sure if I like him," you know. And even in the future, he's like, "Nope, I am not going to fall in love with a human girl. It is taboo. It is wrong. I will never do that." He does.
So that also plays along with this trope. What is this thing you call love? A character is unable to understand romantic love.
Yeah, actually, that does play really well into it. Because yokai don't feel love the same way humans do. So what is this love that they are talking about?
And it's so too much of a hassle, so why bother?
Exactly.
And the fact it's Snake Boy who points out in the prison, like, you just like her. Like, that he knows, but Tomoe doesn't.
Poor Tomoe.
Oh, and then, of course, official couple ordeal syndrome. The story's official couple go through absolute hell throughout the story. They literally go to essentially hell, the underworld, and deal with shit with the dead
Multiple times.
multiple times.
And they both almost die multiple times.
And the fact that, yeah, Nanami's just freaking asking for it because she keeps being reckless and everyone's like, "Stay in this carriage so you are safe while we go deal with the mountain of fire." Yeah, Tori and Akuro. Oh, and then she just waits until it lowers down enough that she can jump and run. Just, no.
She's asking for it. Curiosity kills the Nanami.
Yeah.
Well, lucky for her, she has a lot of powerful allies at her side, and she's also in love with one of the strongest yokai, who will go back hell and back for her. Literally does. Takes on the god of war to get her, to her.
Yeah.
Yep.
Alrighty. Now for the big moment of truth. Captains, what is your vote on today's couple? Do we ship it or sink it?
Well, they
Sink
were
it.
literally put on a floating boat.
Bitch, there's no way you're serious.
Well, she already said it earlier that she ships it because they put them on a flying boat and set them away to be
And the
turned
way we
human.
were talking, there's no way you're serious.
She's
But I
lying.
am.
You better have a damn good reason why. Come on, let's hear it.
No, I do ship them, but I had to.
She just wanted us to whip our heads toward her and give her the evil glares of, what the fuck did you say?
I mean, I did get it from Zephra, but I did not hear what you said, Juno. So go ahead and say it again. I'm sorry.
I was just saying, well, you said earlier that they put literally on a floating ship and sailed them off. So, yep, shipped.
It's nice because we had our job done for us. We didn't have to do anything. We just got to watch the show.
But they're seriously perfect for each other.
Yes.
They're a good balance.
Mm-hmm. I definitely think there are some moments where I'm like, "Ugh," obviously we've talked about it, but those moments are worked through for the most part. And it doesn't stop the amount of care that they have towards each other. And I think that's important to acknowledge because I think the one thing that is often glanced over in romance stories is that it's not all just sunshines and rainbows. There are going to be tough moments.
In a relationship and in the world,
Exactly.
It's the way you handle the conflicts as a couple.
Exactly.
Thank you for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed listening to us talk about your favorite ships, leave us a review on whatever platform you listen to. You are also welcome to send any couple recommendations or questions for our Roll for Ships to our email, battleshipspod@gmail.com. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you guys next time. Next time, episode 15, Sasaki and Miyano in Sasaki to Miyano.